Lebron's fitting in, Magic's smash mouth offense, and more in but trends I'm watching. An offense is emerging. An all-time great is fitting in, not out. And the defensive menace is refusing to flop. Let's open up the notebook to run through 3 NBA trends that have caught my eye over the past week. Off-ball Bron. LeBron James did not dawdle. During the second half of a close intracity rivalry match, he headed from the right corner to the opposite side of the court. This was not a quadragenarian who looked like he had just returned from a sciatica injury. James fully throttled across the paint and headed to his teammate, Gabe Vincent, for whom he would set a screen. That screen turned into a nightmare for the La Clippers. With Vincent preparing to flare to the corner, the 2 defenders in the action, Kobe Brown and John Collins, bungled a switch. All James required was a tiptoe of a step in the wrong direction. James pulls off the best of all worlds on this play. He lays a strong screen on Brown. Collins, who is on James, shuffles his feet 2 inches toward Vincent, moving as if he's about to switch. Brown doesn't comply, fighting over the screen. An otherwise microscopic miscommunication is enough to open a lane for the 4-time MVP, who receives a dish from Luka Doncic and finishes an 1. The only time 40-year-olds are supposed to cover this much ground is when they're on lawnmowers. James has played 3 games since returning from injury. The Los Angeles Lakers have won each one. The team is off to a roaring start, 13-4 and second in the Western Conference, thanks to its relentless backcourt of Doncic and Austin Reeves, a career-best start from Rui Hachimura, and can't-miss mid-range shooting, including from DeAndre Ayton, who has performed well to begin his Lakers career. Enter one of the top 2 players ever to touch a basketball. James has looked slick to start, most recently going for a typical 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists against the Clippers. After all the debate over fitting in versus fitting out, James is playing his role, but it's one he's never executed to this extreme. It's still early, and thus, any sort of adjustment remains on the table. But James has not operated in his point guardish style during these 3 games. Instead, he's been an off-ball fiend. The Lakers have used pick and rolls with Doncic or Reeves to get him post-ups. He threw some snazzy dimes from there during his first game back. He's scoring off the catch often. Even during the Clippers game, James' best scoring performance so far, his buckets were more because of activity and less because the ball just so happened to be in his hands. He took 15 shots in that game and never took more than 2 dribbles to get into any of them. 6 attempts were off the catch, such as on a number of his 3-pointers or on that slicing and 1 above. 5 were after just 1 dribble. The Lakers have leaned on 2 elite creators, a duo of Doncic and Reeves, who combined for 63 points, 16 assists, and 22 free throw attempts per game, and turned James into a dangerous off-ball weapon. James has always been a dominant cutter and screener. His days alongside Dwyane Wade in Miami overflowed with gorgeous movement, but now cuts seem to be his new foundation. For example, since Second Spectrum started tracking this data in 2013, James has never averaged fewer than 3.5 dribbles leading into his shots over a full season. In 2024-25, he averaged 3.8. During these last 3 games, he's averaged 1.5. Only 41% of his 2-pointers have been self-created during this time. In every other year of his career, that number has fallen between 56 and 77%. Defenses already can't take breaks against the Lakers. At any given moment, they have a 30-ish point scorer running the attack, but this team can become even more unforgiving. So far, Los Angeles hasn't shot well from deep. Only Hachimura is hitting better than 35% of his 3-point attempts. That will change. In the meantime, the Lakers have blitzed opponents from mid-range. Now, the man who is at worst the second-best player ever is the third ball handler on his own team. James could lament about no longer being the guy. That title belongs to Doncic, as the Lakers have made clear. But instead of dealing with drama, they are winning. James appears to have bought into his role, and what was already an exhausting attack just became even more draining to face. Magical beatdowns. A couple of weeks ago, with a team many predicted to finish inside the Eastern Conference's top three. Disappointing to begin the season, All-Star forward Paolo Banchero sat at his cubby in the visiting locker room of Madison Square Garden. The Orlando Magic had just beaten the New York Knicks in a fashion reminiscent of their physicality from the previous few years. The Magic were regaining form, and on this night, a 17-point victory during which they lost Banchero to a groin injury that has kept him off the court since. What was supposed to be a brute squad looked brute again. "We lost that a little bit," Banchero told me then. "It started off rough. We weren't guarding teams like we usually do, and we kinda had to look ourselves in the mirror and realize we're not gonna win many games giving up 130, 120. The Magic had misplaced their identity. Now, they found one, though not in the way many might have predicted. Orlando demolished the Philadelphia 76ers on Tuesday, 144-103, its 10th win in 14 games. It is 5-2 without Banchero. Head coach Jamal Mosley's plea to defend more urgently in transition is coming to fruition. The group is smashing smaller opponents on the boards. Jalen Suggs, who's never dull but often banged up, is playing more minutes now, which has helped garner stops on the perimeter. But that addresses only the team's usual calling card, the defense. For the first time in years, offense is coming plentifully in Orlando, and it's happening in an in-character way. The Magic are bashing defenses into buckets. Over this 14-game heater, Orlando is scoring 121.0 points per 100 possessions, fourth in the NBA during the month-long stretch. The last time the Magic finished in the top half of the league in offense, Dwight Howard was their starting center. Maybe a decade and a half slump will finally bust. The attack includes movement it didn't rely on as heavily last season. The addition of Desmond Bane means more cutting, split actions, and perimeter players screening for each other. But Orlando still boasts its biggest flaw: it can't shoot. The three-point production has improved from last season. Bane makes a difference. Suggs, Franz Wagner, and Anthony Black have hit jumpers often enough to make defenses think. Wendell Carter Jr. has doubled, for real doubled, his percentage from deep. Tristan da Silva is sneakily one of the league's most important role players in part because of his knockdown three-ball. Yet, Orlando remains a top-tier clanky squad. The Magic are scoring, but for more on-brand reasons. Just as they do on defense, they're pounding opponents down low. No one attacks the hoop with more ferocity than the Magic does. Let's use Wagner, who could be on the way to his first All-Star appearance, as an example. Some physical drivers start from a standstill in the half-court, and then there's what Wagner does. The Magic spent training camp concentrating on speed. Their focus? Running after only steals and long rebounds would not suffice. Now, they get into transition nearly 1 in every 5 possessions, the second highest frequency in the league, according to Cleaning the Glass. At times, they'll turn plays that never should have been fast breaks, ones that follow boring defensive boards or even made shots, into transition opportunities. This is the Wagner special. He mixes together straight-line speed, pace, and crafty touch around the basket, then adds in a lowered shoulder just for fun. Look at where each player is positioned when Wagner retrieves the rebound in the play below. 4 Brooklyn Nets are already getting back on defense, ahead of all 5 Magic players. That doesn't stop Wagner from moving with purpose, then projecting himself into Noah Clowney for a fall. The Magic draw falls on a higher percentage of their drives than any other team, according to Second Spectrum. They average the most free throws per field goal attempt in the league. Toumani Camara's anti-flop. In a league where even the slightest contact causes most players to collapse as if they'd been hit by Ray Lewis, Toumani Camara needs not touch the ground. Coming into this season, Camara was already the best in the NBA at forcing illegal screens. He's doing it even more to begin this year, and he's remaining on his feet in the process. The Portland Trail Blazers' all-defensive wing pursues screens aggressively. If he figures a player is about to move, he beelings into the guy. But for the first time, a fall-drawing hound cannot be accused of disintegrating just to sell calls. Over the last 3 weeks, Camara has drawn 9 illegal screens, and has fallen on only one of them. He has perfected the lean. He'll angle backwards and extend an arm at an awkward position, as if he were playing some mishmash of twister and limbo. Kamara's screen defense, along with his prolific charge-taking, could become an under-the-radar storyline in the basketball geek world. He led the league last season, drawing 91 offensive fouls. This season, he's pacing to shatter that 129, which would demolish the single-season record. Since the NBA began tracking this stat in 1999, no one has gotten into triple digits. Kamara could be the first one, and if he does, it won't be because of unimaginative flops.